So, there's a nice big finial. I bought that from Bunnings about 25 years ago because I was going to put it in the front of my house and I never get round to it. And I didn't turn at the time, so I thought it was just an interesting sort of little bit of history. The ones I'm going to do today, or the finial I'm going to do today, is in the style of Cindy Drozda. So I don't know if you've heard of her. She's all over the internet. Unfortunately, her demonstrations are usually behind a paywall. So if you want to see Cindy Drozda turning a finial, and she turns probably the nicest ones in the wood turning world at the moment, you're going to have to pay to see that. I did mean to bring a drawing of finial with me today, and it's sitting on my desk in my house. So you haven't got it. I do them all in this sort of similar style to that. So that's quite a big one. Just pass that around. Have I done it again? Yeah. I started doing them to do these sort of three suspended boxes. So there's one in there, that's one of mine, and this one here. If you have a look at this one is not right. Yeah, the dimensions are wrong, so have a look at it and see if you can pick out what's wrong with it. That's the very first finial I ever turned. That was for a three-sided box, a three-cornered box, and all I've got left now is the lid. The three-cornered box slipped out of my hand when I was bringing it here. I was opening the garage door to get out to my car, and out it went. This one's just a little button finial. Don't look at the dragon. It's the finial on top of this is a ginger jar with a button finial on the top. And I think is that all of them? And there's another couple. You have a look at that one, a critique of that one there. That one. There's something wrong with that, so see if you can pick out what it is. Oh, and that was the second finial I ever turned. So I'll just give you the link. And can I please have them all back? If you want one of the finials, you can have them after the demo, but not the historical ones from my personal sort of, the ones that I look at now and again and go, oh, I don't like that, and oh, that's wrong, and all the rest of it. Yep. I'm going to use this one as my guide for what I'm doing today. Most of them come in this sort of shape, the sort of pointy bit at the top. And if you look at this, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that better? If you look at this bit at the top here, that's really trying to be a copy of this bit. Like Jim, I remember when I first started wood turning, Jim Cameron said to me, good design often has repetition in it. So the idea is that you would look at this part here up at the top and sort of compare it to this piece that's down here, and then the finished bit. This is the older style that I did, and if you look at it again, look at the very end here, and you can see that it's very flat at the end, so that when it goes onto the box, if you look at those ones on the box, you can see that the finial sort of fades into the box. But unfortunately, that never really comes out very well when you do it. Yeah, there's always going to be some glue, squeeze out, or whatever to come through, and that it's very difficult to get rid of it. So if you look at the bigger one in the same style, you can see that I've started putting, like Cindy Drozda, a little bit of an undercut on that, so that it looks better sitting on the box. Yeah, and you can get in there and clear up any squeeze out or any messing that's left around. It's very difficult to do that and get that nice flowing curve into whatever shape you're trying to make. And the final thing is that you need to make a spigot on the end of your finial that will fit into a tenon, spigot, tenon, call it what you want, that will fit into a mortise on the lid of whatever it is you're going to fit it into. You wouldn't generally make the lid and the finial out of the same piece of material. You would normally make the lid, then make the finial, and then glue the two of them together. Unless you're doing the ones like John's got. John will show you some of the tiny little ones he's got. Then he's got a three-sided box with a finial that I can't really see. Yeah. because it's so small. And I would imagine that you must have turned that all as one piece. Yeah. I don't think that's practical for most of the work that we do in terms of lids and stuff like that. Okay, so is everybody happy what we're going to do? Right. The first and foremost thing is you get a piece of nice square wood, whatever. It's got to be a bigger diameter than your biggest diameter on the finished item, and the biggest diameter on these is this one here. This is about 5 mil bigger than and these two diameters are the same, and then it goes in, and then up here, these ones and these ones should be about the same as well. Yeah, if you want values for those, I can give them to you afterwards, or I'll send you a picture of, if you send me an email, I'll send you a copy of the picture that I used as my sort of template for all of these. You just have to multiply it. If you want it half as big, you do everything half as big with the dimensions. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah. Is there anything else I need to talk to you about on this? If you're all happy with the general shape, again, you can vary these. You don't have to. If you look at them, none of them are exactly identical. I tend to think now, though, that this shape here, this sort of a little barrel shape, a little ring that goes round it, is better than this sloped one. I think everybody goes through a phase of. Yeah. This one here, you can see it's got slopes on it. Yeah, and I think I prefer now to do them as just like a cylinder, a straight cylinder that goes in flat and into them. And if you look at some of the ones that are there, that's the way I've been doing them recently. But anything can happen when you're at a lathe, and everything's a design opportunity. Yeah. Okay, so I started off. This is olive wood, and a couple of those pieces there are olive wood. And I'd like to just thank Jeff, Jeff Otway, who gave me the piece of olive that I then cut up and made these. I started off with this. If you look at it, you can see I've just got it clamped into the chuck here, the square bit, nothing fancy, and then I rounded it. Make sure you put something on the end so that you get it nice and cylinderish. And then I just turned it down. I've cut this piece. I did this, all that. Here's something I prepared earlier. So this is the, I think, the maximum. No, that's the end of the. So from there on, that's where the spigot will be, just at this part there. Yeah, the point will take me up to about there, and if I hold my little piece next to it, you should hopefully, is that about the same? Yeah, you can see the dimensions, so it makes life a little bit easier. The second thing to worry about when you're doing these is do not make this narrow. Yeah, don't turn it from this end, start from this end. If you start at this end, then you can feel it, you can actually see it wobbling as it's in the chuck, and it won't turn. I did one yesterday, and I did that myself. I was thinking, turn to turn, and I went in and I did the spigot, and before I knew it, this end was going round and round, and the circle was getting bigger and bigger when I was turning it. Once I'd taken, because you've got to take it off of here pretty early on in the piece, and once you take it off, it's going to start going, and then you'll get all these weird shapes in your turning. So the tool I use mostly is this one. This is I think it's called a detail gouge. It's basically a spindle gouge. It's got a very sharp point on it. If you look at it, it's actually much more of an angle. Yeah, can you see that? Yeah. Normally a spindle gouge would go back, sort of about that angle. I've got this one put back, and it's got a fairly sharp point on it, and that allows me to do the things that I need to do. I also use 3 of these. I've got this middle-sized one, a fat one, and a thin one for any when I'm dimensioning this. And I use my bowl gouge for some of the work as well, and this one here, my skew, and I use that basically for just starting the cuts. Once I've started the cut and I've got an edge that I can cut to, I can use my spindle gouge to get down and into it. Okay? So this end here, this point here is about, I think, is that about 12 mil? that's 8 mil, and that's the dimension that I want the top part of my thing to be. This is the bit, can you see that? Yeah, I'm going to do this part here, the little pointy bit. Remember, that's my end point, and that's my end point there. So that's what I'll be turning down to, so let's get some wood off. It's a small diameter piece of wood, so you really need the speed to be up high. You know, you're talking about the, do you see that? I had to change chucks when I come in this morning. My record chuck, ouch, won't fit on this. Yeah, so I had to change to one of the big mark chucks, and that's why it's doing this wobble. But I've got plenty of room. You know, I've got enough room there to take off and make it all nice and flat again. And I will do that with this big one. What happened to the tool rest? I didn't even see that I did the tool rest. That was a bit right, wasn't it? Nobody told me I didn't have a safety policy on. Get the spindle gauge. When you're doing these, you need to sand as you turn. You can't wait till you've finished it and then sand it. And the reason for that is, of course, that you're going to put a spigot on the end of there, and once you put the spigot on, it's going to start to wobble. Any of the thin bits, anything after the thin bit will wobble. Now, I'm not going to do any sanding on this today. You know, there's not an awful lot of point. Nobody really will. Do you want to see me sanding? No, I didn't think so. Sorry? Yeah, everybody's done a bit of sanding. top at that point. So I'm just using now the spindle gouge to turn it into the little sort of pointy bit up at the top of the thing. Now that I've brought it down to size, you can see that top part is a wee bit fat. So it's like I was saying earlier, the design opportunities. So you've got two choices. You can either make two, which is probably what I should have done there, make two little rings going around the top, but I didn't. So there's going to be a bit too much room up at the end here. Now I've got to get rid of this. I need that piece is going in a minute, so this is the waist at the top of the minaret, I suppose, if you want to think of it in that sense. Just a peeling cut in with the what do you call it? Parting tool. Got that down to about the same diameter as the thing at the top, and now I can put in the little do some more in that later when I get this down. So I've now got to get this part down here. This is the high point on the shape that I'm going to mark here. And again, I'm just going to do it with then get to the waist. And you should be starting to see the shape coming out now on the top part of the thing. You can see why all the other woodworkers call us wood wasters. And at this point, I would sand this as well. You know, I'm more or less finished with the shaping on there. We've just got to get down to the fat piece, which was, I think, just about there. So I'll just turn this down now to get into that, and then this piece has now got to come down to the same diameter as the flat piece. I want to mark where I'm going to have the collar wrapped round. So this is one end of the collar is at this point. Underneath that I'm going to have the curve going down to the bottom. So if I just put that in about there. One of the things that to make these look good is if you make these points here, see this point here, if you make that quite thin, it makes it look much more elegant than it would if you leave it with a sort of fat join. Yeah? Is that okay? Or have I gone too high? This part here I'm going to leave. This part, this is the fat collar, and then I'm going to go in here. I'll just take this down a bit more at this point.
It's good. Now it's got
Sorry, what have I done? This?
Yes. Right back.
We're almost a big place.
Was it? Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, it never got me. Honest, I would have cried. You would have known. Yeah, that's kind of horrible, actually.
We'll work after you, mate.
Yeah, I'm glad somebody is. Yeah, I don't like that, so back to this bit. I'm not getting that with the tool, so when all goes wrong and you're not getting it with the tool, you revert to your woodturner's favourite. See what happened there? If you notice, it started to jump. This is just 240, and it's fine for this sort of thing, you know that. Does that look okay? Yeah, I suppose it does, yeah. I'm just seeing it looking a bit fat, that's all, is it? Yeah. Maybe I didn't do that narrow enough. It's back up. And I'm trying to get the indentation in that part the same as the indentation under the pair of the teardrop. Teardrop? Is that a teardrop? I suppose it is. You can see the usefulness of this sort of long narrow point, because I can get it in and make that, try and make that, fair that curve so that it goes down a little bit nicer. Again, I would sand it there, but I'm not going to bother. I've got to put the spigot on. About 6 to 8 millimeters. It's plenty to hold this. Just need a wee bit more room to get in there. You've got to undercut these so that when it, because you're never going to put it onto a flat surface, they're always going to be domed, so you need to put a little bit of an undercut under there, and I've still got to do the little backward cut, what would you call it, a chamfer I suppose, backwards to get rid of it. The rest of it, see all this jumping out here, who cares? That's the undercut done, and relatively crisp line on there. Couldn't help myself, could I? Had to get the sandpaper out. I haven't really bothered about measuring the spigot. There's really not a lot of point in me going, you know, everybody knows how to do that. Yeah, you get the 6mm spanner and use that, or the 8mm spanner. I need to clean these insides up to these flat parts in here. You need to make sure you get in there and sand up because people notice them when your items being checked in a competition, and you know they'll be turning it up to have a look underneath there to make sure you get rid of all the scratch marks and all the rest of it. And the same at the top, and the same up here, and this little horrible, I'm really not happy with this. But it's a demonstration, and something's got to go wrong. That's it, really. The most important thing is don't cut it narrow at this end because you'll never finish the job. Yeah. The second one is start at this end. As soon as you've finished a feature on the thing, you sand it and move back. Yeah. Leave it quite fat until you need to get rid of the waste. Get rid of the waste down to more or less where you want it to be, and then use whatever tool you like. You know, I like this one. When I first started turning, Bob Malacari and Graham Lewis had me doing beads and combs for about 4 months, I think, before they let me do a bowl. Yeah, so I would come in here on a Monday and I'd get a piece of pine and I'd go make nice little curves and all the rest of it. And every Monday they would come in and they'd look at it and go, no, come back next week, and then I would do it. So eventually I revolted.
If George, look where you finished up.
Yeah, revolting.
Finish up on top.
So that's it. I'll pass it round now and you can have a look at it. If you're going to do this, make sure that you mark where you've mounted it in case you have to take it off and fix something. My other piece of advice to you would be, if you're going to do these, it's a good idea to have sort of 2 or 3 in reserve for when you need them, so you're not under pressure pardon me, to make one. So I keep them in Barocca tubes. Yeah, just wrap some cotton roll or something and then drop them down into a Barocca tube, and then you know that you've got a couple sitting there waiting if ever you need them. You do have to make sure you do the spigot before you do that. You know, you can't, because this part here will not fit into a Barocca tube, the square part of the wood. So it's a bit fat, isn't it? It's not too bad.